It's been a while since I've used online stuff. Like I have been teaching in person, which is kind of nice and kind of weird. Okay, here we go. So, welcome, bienvenidos. I need to learn bienvenue. I know how to say that in French. That's about it. I need to learn more languages. But so today we're going to be diving into the topic of differentiation. And if it's okay, I'm going to go like this. You won't be able to see Gabby for just a little bit. She's an amazing human. So, differentiation is a topic for me that is very near and dear to my heart because I was diagnosed with a learning disability when I was younger. And the impact that that had on me was both beneficial and really difficult. Like it was really hard for me to come to terms with that. So for a lot of my career in school, I thought of myself as not intelligent. And I thought that I wasn't capable. And yet I was actually very capable, but the like traditional ways of learning and teaching were not like bringing out the best in me. And so I would get bored and I would act out and I had these like conflicting feelings. And I felt very like unsupported and unheard and unable to express what I had learned and what I knew after engaging with a topic, right? Whether it was in math or science or Spanish class for me, I didn't feel very successful. And so differentiation has been something I've really tried to dive into because I want to make sure that myself and the students are continually learning and growing. We're growing together and we're building this beautiful community where mistakes are welcome, where, you know, we can get through anything together. I actually say that to them. Like life is hard, but we have each other. And I look for ways to get each kid to shine, whether it's through art or writing or speaking or acting or cooking or playing games or whatever. Like I try to bring in as much as I can to keep it interesting and to keep kids shining, as I said on this one, how to help everyone shine. So that to me is a big, big, important part of this is to help kids shine. So those of you on Zoom, will you take a moment to write in the chat? And I'm gonna, if you want to, you can write in your notes. What is one thing you hope to get out of today? What's one thing you either want to learn or share? Because maybe you know a lot more about this than I do. What's one thing you want to get out of this today? And I'll give you about a minute, like 2 minutes to think about that, okay? When you're ready on Zoom, you can just add that in the chat. right. Cool. So, I'm gonna read Becky's just because she might be busy, relaxing, or taking care of the baby. So Becky said, I'm always looking to grow my skills in differentiating in the classroom, either in person or online. I'm specifically looking to grow my skills with working with pre-literate children. So kids that are, aren't reading yet necessarily, or diving in little bits at a time to reading. So that's awesome. That's we're gonna be hopefully. I feel like, yeah, you all are all so experienced in your own ways, but I feel like we could totally tackle that one. Yes. Malou, do you want to read yours or do you want me to read it?
Okay, so my first question is, okay, 1 second. So I want to understand more about what you mean by differentiation in a group of students.
Awesome.
Sometimes we have different interpretation about
Yeah.
how a student is different. And also I want to know, how do you see that you have one of these kids? How can I feel that they are in my classroom? And what's the best strategies I can adopt to help them? And this is the most important for me. And how can I care for them without making them feel like this is a discrimination, kind of discrimination? You help them, but in certain limits where you don't make them feel like this is an extra attention for them because they are different.
That's awesome. Wow, you brought up a lot of really good points. Nice. That's a lot. That's good. We're gonna dive into that for sure. I'm glad that you wanna like take care of your students in this process, and you recognize that that's important, and you want to make sure you really understand it too, to be able to do it well. That's amazing. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I share with you the case because I'm teaching English here in Morocco.
Nice.
And I have class, I have 6 classes. The average of students is 37 students class. But I don't feel, I know that there are some students who are really different from others. But as teacher, I cannot see this. And also I feel like they are kind of shy to express these things. Maybe they don't understand what I'm saying on my lesson, but they just don't share. So I need to come to a point where I can help them express this and talk about this. When I was at Irving Elementary School, I saw those students who are different because there was an organism who tells that the student is like in special needs or he is different. So, because there was some assistance. But in our schools, we don't have this assistance. There is no such organism, only teachers and students. And so it's kind of hard to detect that you have a student who is in special needs.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, you've got some cultural differences that you're working with, and you saw like ways to be able to support the kids, it sounds like, but yet you're struggling with making that happen back in Morocco, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. I hope that what we can bring today will help support you in that journey. That's a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Gosh, my heart goes out to you. That's like, I know you, Malud, like you're such a thoughtful human. And so, yeah, that means a lot that you're.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. Well, we'll get into some of those topics. And if we don't, remind me to dive back into some of those things. But I'm hoping today we will tackle a bunch of that. Okay. So yeah, and these things take time. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, be patient with yourself. Yeah. Amelia, would you like to read yours?
Sure. So this semester, for those of you who don't know, I've been teaching a couple classes with multiple grades at each class. So I'm thinking particularly of my 4th to 8th grade class. I have 10 to 14-year-olds in the same classroom. So they're at different levels of maturity and different levels of, reading and writing skills and communication. But also different levels of German speaking. So I have some 8th graders who've never heard a word of German. And I've got some 4th graders who are almost fluent,
Wow.
even if they're not as good at writing. So it's this really big mixed bag. And I found this semester, what I've ended up doing is almost default to a pretty beginner level, just so that I don't leave people behind. But I feel like some of the more advanced students are a little bit bored, or they're just chomping at the bit a little bit. They want to get ahead, do some more advanced grammar. And I'm not sure how to challenge them successfully without leaving everybody else behind.
That's a lot to tackle also. Yeah. And I can tell that you're mixing those two different, just two, but I'm sure there's lots of layers to that. But like the really high processors are the people that have a lot of experience, right? With the kids that are, still at the novice level, that's really tricky. So I love that you are honoring them. It sounds like you're trying to honor both where they are, but finding it really difficult. Like that's a lot. Yeah. I'm hoping some of these strategies will support you today, but we're going to check back in later and see if that is true for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. And then Gabby, do you want to read yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to learn about how to develop different skills for students, no matter what condition, level, or age. I want to be able to teach everyone, and I have to say, I want to have all the skills to teach. I am a preschool teacher, so I only know how to teach preschoolers, and I want to know how to teach another levels.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. I love preschoolers.
Yeah, I love
Oh my
too.
God. They're so precious.
Yeah.
Well then, yeah, you might be able to help with some pre-literate stuff with Becky. That's great.
Yeah.
And I know Becky's been teaching online too with elementary kids, so we can help support each other. And I know Malud and Amelia have experience also. I know Becky says, woo, it takes a village. Yeah, that's why I'm glad we have each other.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Okay,
So
thank
yeah,
you.
no, yeah.
Good to hear that.
No, yeah, you're not. I mean, I feel like this is my 13th year teaching, and I feel like I'm always learning. So yeah, you're not alone.
Sure.
Yeah, I know Malud has tons of experience, and he's still learning.
Yeah, that is right. I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay, so essentially, I feel like what everyone said really encapsulates differentiation. Okay, so whether you know this term really well, or whether it's new to you, it's really the art, and I think it's an art, of taking the kids that want more, giving them room to go and get more, or do more, or learn more, but also helping the kids that need more support, right? And need more assistance, and need more time and love and exposure to the language. Okay. And so that's really what differentiation is. It's about, because you might have some kids in your classes that know a ton of Spanish, like Amelia was talking about.
Yeah.
And then you might have some other ones who are, pre-literate. They're not, like Becky was talking about, they're not reading yet, and they might be in 3rd grade. So that's a really tricky dynamic to work with. And I'm hoping what we're going to dive into today will help us to learn how to see the individual and give options so that they can choose their own adventure. so that they can shine in their own way, because you've provided the room and a safe place and the encouragement and all, and you're just giving them some room to do what it needs. Yeah, or what they need. So, oh, Becky says, yes, this is huge at my school right now. Second graders are still very illiterate. So it takes a lot of the activities. It makes a lot of the activities I usually use at that level a challenge. Yeah, that's teachers all across the nation, all across the world, I think, are dealing with that because of COVID. Yeah, because we've in some ways been set backwards, in other ways we've taken more leaps. It's weird. It's very strange. COVID has, like, I feel like, thrown us all into a weird mix of, yeah, that's so true, Becky. Okay, so to me, the strategies I'm about to show you are just some ideas that I have found that have worked for me in my classroom. And they are by no means, like, definitive or the only ones out there, but they are just some suggestions. Oh, you're supposed to be able to see that. Sorry, I'll fix that. But I'm hoping you'll pick like one or two of these and dive into them in your classes, and then keep us posted on how it's going. Bless you.
Thank you.
So that we can keep in touch and keep, helping each other and learning together. So yeah, so these are just a few. So the underline, like I said before, the underlined parts have a link to a website with a deeper explanation. So if you find that one strategy is something you want to try in your classroom on Monday, let's say, then you could dive in a little bit deeper with that one. I am going to try to demonstrate at least one strategy toward the end, and I want your input on which one that'll be. Yeah, I want to know what you guys think. So, all right, any questions before we move on to the first strategy? Okay. You good, Malud? You good, Becky? You good, Amelia?
Yeah.
Okay, yay. Okay, here we go. So essentially, for me, number one is getting to know our kids. So if we know our kids really, really well, then we can take bigger leaps with them. We can ask them to do more. They feel safer to do more. They feel safer to make mistakes when they do more. They feel just supported and loved and willing to take risks, right? Because learning a new language is a huge, vulnerable, long process, right? It's like I mean, I don't know all the words in English, and that's my first language. So I always have to remind myself that, and kids that like it's really more like an ultra marathon rather than a short sprint, or a 100-meter sprint across the track, right? So I always try to remember that, like, this is the long game. We want them to love us and our classes. We want them to like form a community, right? All of those things have shown, we as humans, we need social connections. And on a side note, I just listened to this last night. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about, I'll go through it one by one, and then we'll get to the thing I'm reading. I'm reading this really great book right now that has so many great strategies. It's called this. Okay, so Not Light But Fire. Thank you. This book is amazing. He gave some great strategies on how to build community and build a safe space. And one of his first things that he says in his book is we can't just proclaim this is a safe space, as I have done. Many teachers I know have done, like this is a safe space and now it is safe. It doesn't work like that, right? Like we as humans need to feel safe, need to know we're safe. We need to be reminded of it constantly. And it might change, right? We might feel safe and then we don't, right? So he gave some really great recommendations on how to create safe spaces. I'm going to get to one of them in a minute, but I love how on Zoom you can't, like, the toolbar blocks everything. Adios toolbar. So I can't easily go back to my thing. Anybody have a trick for that? I bet some of you do. Is that not? Maybe not. Ooh, there we go. Okay. Oh, that was great. I just figured out a trick. Okay. I know our students know more than us, right, Becky? Sometimes they know more than we do. Okay. So first, and I'm sure Becky might know of this, and maybe you guys do too. Maybe Malud has done this. Maybe you too, Amelia, or you in your preschool classes. Like when you do this special person interview, if you look it up, it's so great. Oh, you do? Oh, I have two, Becky, you're not alone. So the special person interviews are meant, let's see if I can pull up this link. So I linked here to a podcast that my friend makes, and the special person interview, according to Caitlin Leppert, she is by no means an expert, but she's put in some different strategies and explained her way of doing it. And I personally have felt that it works better for me in this way. So essentially what it is it's when you have a volunteer, right? And if you have a small class, it works. I find it works better with smaller classes. But you have a special person and essentially they are in front of the class and it's like their day, it's their special day. They get to talk all about themselves. And you ask them a question in the language. And let's see if I can pull up the one thing I was going to share with you. Let's see. So basically what you're going to do is yeah, we'll go to Bryce Hedstrom. So this guy is really known for the special person interview, and he's created some scripts that I'll help you to do it in German. I believe he has it in I know he has it in Spanish. He definitely has it in French. I'm not sure if he has it in Arabic or English, but I do know that it's so if you go to free stuff and you go to special person interviews, this is how he recommends doing it. Now, I personally, Becky, I don't know if you're like me, but this has felt very stagnant to me. So basically he says you ask a question and then you follow up and you report it back to the class, and you're doing this all in your target language, whether it's Spanish or English or Arabic or German, right? It doesn't matter. You're asking a question like, what's your name, or where are you from, or what's your favorite food, right? And then you report it back to the class, right? And then you verify, saying, oh, did you say your favorite food is pizza? And then they say yes or no, right? And then you check understanding with the class. Like, did they say that their favorite food is pizza, and things like that? And so you're recycling the same vocabulary, essentially 4 times, right? You're asking, you're repeating it, you're reporting to the class, you're verifying, you're checking for understanding, right? Essentially 4 or 5 times. And then you're encouraging kids to take notes. Now, in my classes, whenever I ask kids to take notes, I do two things. One, I say they can either draw their understanding, or I say they can write their understanding in L1, language 1. So in my class, that would be English, or L2, right? So maybe in Maloud's case, they would be maybe they would be writing in Arabic, little words in Arabic, and then Maloud's okay with that because that's L1 for him, language 1, maybe. Or maybe he's teaching a French class, right? And, you know, to English speakers, let's say. He would, you know, L1 for him would be English in that case. Does that make sense?
For me, can work with drawing, like I teach preschoolers.
Yeah,
That preschoolers can draw all
Totally.
the information that another student.
yeah. Getting them to draw is huge. So I always tell them when I teach online or in person, I say to always be drawing or writing. So that for me helps. If I do a special person interview, it helps kids to stay focused.
Yeah.
The thing I don't like about it, I will say, is you tend to like, the kids get really excited to be the special person, right? And even if they're writing and drawing or taking notes or writing copious amounts in German, like Amelia said, some of her kids might be able to do, right? Well, there's still this like, like the whole rest of the class might feel left out. Yeah, they get bored when they're not the special person. Exactly, Becky. And I found that to be true also. So what I've done in the past, and so if you go down here, this is what these look like. So, oh, they have it in Arabic. Yay. They have it in Arabic. They have it in Mandarin. They have it in Dutch, French, German. Let's look at German. So basically, oh, I just had to download it. Oh, well. Okay, they have it in Hebrew. Oh, this is amazing. Okay. So basically, oh, it just went away. Where did it go? We're going to go, let's do it. Let's go to Arabic. Why not? Because I lost the PowerPoint that I had apparently downloaded by accident. Okay, so it's doing it to Keynote. Have you ever used Keynote? Anybody? I don't know Keynote very well. Okay. Oh, sugar, what happened? It's being all weird now. Sometimes, okay, you guys can't see this, so here it is. It looks like I do have it in German. Okay. Oh, and here it is in Arabic. Okay, let's do it in Arabic. Let's just, yeah. So it says, you know, you're asking here, what is your name? And that's how I guess how you say it in Arabic. Is that right? Okay. And then the kid says this, my name is, and then they say that, I guess. Does that look right, Maloud?
Yeah.
And then Maloud would report back to the class, their name is blank.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it goes on from there, and you could focus on one person per class, right? But the problem is, like Becky said, is they tend to lose interest when they are not a special person, even when they're drawing, even when they're taking notes, right? Sometimes if they're older, you can say like, there'll be a quiz on this, and that'll like, maybe, you know, like, oh, Amelia, maybe you could do that. Like, there'll be a quiz on this. You need, you know, if you've got literate kids, you could give a little bit of a quiz. It's kind of fun to take a quiz on your peers, you know, like their name is blah, 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 you know, whatever you think works for you. But what I've tended to do is focus on one of these per class and go around to everybody. And then they still have to take notes if they can, whether it's drawing or writing. So I just focus on one per day. Or maybe 2, maybe 3, but no more than that. Like if I have time, I do 1 question per day, you know, and the whole class has to say it. I found that helps, because then they know like the focus for today is Oh, we're all gonna learn about, how many people they have in their family. Okay, yeah, special question of the day. Exactly, Becky. That's right. Yeah. So that I found has worked really well for me. But what I do love about it, the essence of it, is you're still getting to know your kids, right? It's one way to do it. This podcast I found to be really helpful. You can check it out later. The next thing I found to be really helpful are personal surveys. So it's basically like, if your kids can write, so Amelia, you have to translate this one. Actually, it's in English, so you're good. So the link here is in English, and it's free online, so I can share it. It's from Martina Becks, and her business is called The Comprehensible Classroom. So what she does is she gives it to her kids on the first day, and they can either draw or write their answers. If they draw, I recommend, before you announce like their favorite animal is a dinosaur, you got to check with them and be like, no, that's actually a monkey. Like you're like, oh shoot. Like, so I always like confirm with them privately. I'm like, tell me more about this. That's what I always say. I say, tell me more about this. This is so cool, right? And then that gives them the room to say, oh, this is my favorite teddy bear. I don't know, right? If they draw, or if they misspelled something, I do the same thing. Like, what? Tell me more about this word. If they're writing, because kids misspell things all the time. So I try to leave it open. Like, ooh, tell me more. I want to hear more about this. And they get used to me saying that in Spanish. Like, dime más. Tell me more. Dime más. So that the personal survey is really nice, because you have in private, the kid has given you information that you can hopefully share with the class. With my older kids in middle school this year, I said, put a star by it if you don't want me to share it with the class. So I know, like, if Becky wants to use this in her class, like with her younger kids, maybe they shared that, they have 2 moms, and they don't want the rest of the class to know that. Like, they're not ready to go there yet. That's okay. They don't need to share that. We don't need to share that, but it's good for us to know as teachers. And it's great that they felt safe to share that, right? So yeah, so that's a personal survey. You've got information about your kids. And I would say with pre-literate kids, like doing a question of the day, and they can just draw. Another thing that's similar to that would be card talk. So I brought in, for Gabby and I, this might be the strategy we use later, but these index cards, and I just give them one of these, and I say, draw your favorite thing. And if they're okay with me sharing their picture with the class and saying, oh, look, like Gabby really loves polar bears. I don't know. Then I check with her and be like, can you tell me more? What kind of animal did you draw? Right. And then she would say, I love polar bears, let's say. And then I can show it to the class because there's no star on it. And I can talk about what Gabby loves. And it's a way for the class to get to know Gabby. It's a way for me to speak the language. It's a way for us to build community, right? And get to know each other. You could do one question a day, like, how old are you? And they have to write the number 7. And then I say, okay, draw 7 of your favorite foods. I don't know. They might draw a banana and some cereal, and maybe they love sushi, right? They're going to draw those things as best they could, 7 of them. And then with their permission, you can talk about them in front of the class. That's card talk. Card talk is either getting them to write or draw in response to a question. Becky says, the special person of the day could choose. Ooh, I love that. That is smart, Becky. That's a really good idea. Yeah, you could give them some options too if they're having a blank. That's a great idea. I never thought of that. That's brilliant. The other thing, I know, right? It is great, Malud. Also, this is something that he talks about in that book, in this book right here, Not Light, but Fire. He talks, I love this so much. So I just added this morning because I was like, ooh, they might like this. So allow kids to share good news. Apparently, when he said this in the book, right, when I was reading it, we as humans, we're more likely to share bad things that are happening in our lives, right? We're just kind of like, oh, there was traffic on the way here, or my mom's in the hospital, or you're just like venting about something that happened at work, maybe. But really, if you get kids to share good news, there's a little bit of vulnerability in there, but it's positive, right? Like what if Malud shares with us that, like, you know, his tournament went really well, you know, let's say his soccer tournament went really well and his team won, but we're not excited for him. There's vulnerability in that. Like, you know, we could be hurting Malud, right? Inadvertently, without meaning to. So, but sharing good news, if you start doing it on a regular basis, they say that kids in this book, he says that you start like being able to celebrate, and you create this web of connections across the class. So there could be some good news, like my grandmother got out of the hospital, or I tested negative for COVID, right? Or my dog is, you know, having puppies today, whatever. Then you know that like the kid across the room who might love puppies can bond with that other kid who said that, and maybe they weren't friends, but you can repeat all of this back in the target language. You can say good news or write good news on the board, and then that's like part of your writing for the day. Or maybe that's, you know, you're like spending time on it. It's good time well spent, because you're getting the kids to be a little vulnerable with each other. It's positive. You're building community, right? You're getting to know them. They're getting to know each other, basically. So those are my 4 ways that I love to get to know kids. I haven't done the good news thing yet, so let me know if you try it. And let the kids share an L1, language 1. Yeah, that might be they're sharing maybe in Arabic, maybe they're sharing in French, maybe they're sharing in Spanish, depending on your class. But in Amelia's class, I'm guessing L1 is, again, English. L2 would be German, right? So that she says, yeah, that's really great. Once I finally realized that if I get them to share an L1, exactly, Becky, that is how I get the input into the target language. Do you want to come in? You're there. Okay. Come on, we love you. Yang is here. Hola. Oh my gosh, I love her daughter. Her kids are the cutest. Okay, sorry. Her whole family dances in the ballet.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so amazing. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's so smart. Do you all have any questions about getting to know your kids? All right, let's do a quick brain break. Are you ready? Here we go. So they say in Chinese medicine that if you rub your ears, you're massaging your whole body. So if you rub your ears, pull on them gently, move them around. And I always tell kids to say thank you to your ears, because they're doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
They're learning English, or they're learning German, or they're learning Arabic, or they're learning French or Spanish, whatever, or maybe Mandarin, right? You gotta thank your ears. Gracias, oídos. Gracias, orejas. Yeah, you're massaging your whole body and you're thanking your ears. That's a brain break I do for just like 1 minute. What was the one I was doing when you visited? Was it that one? Okay, that's one of my favorite ones. Another favorite of mine is getting kids to shake things out, like negative energy. I call it, shaking out the negative energy. They shake out the negative, and then they usually exhale, and then they clap in the positive energy.
Okay.
That's my other favorite go-to. Yeah, these are my
I
two.
love this.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's good. They say that your hands have a direct connection to your heart. So if you're shaking out the negative energy in Chinese medicine, that's what they say, at least according to my acupuncturist. She may not, know all the things, but this is what she says. So if you shake out the negative energy, you go and you keep in the positive energy. It's a good way for kids to move their bodies,
Yeah.
and then bonding, or I'd like to take 3 deep breaths. Inhala. Exhala. When things get crazy. Inhala. Exhala. Inhala. Exhala. Inhala. I find that just brings the energy down. Like any of those 3 things, like getting them to rub their ears or shake out the negativity, or taking a deep breath with the class. It like helps them to calm down and settle in. I do that often.
Yeah.
It helps. Cool.
So,
Yeah, it's good. It's a
Yeah.
good one. Okay, let's continue. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or unmute yourself at any time. So speaking slowly is so important. And I am the biggest offender of this.
yeah.
I get really excited because I'm a very passionate person, and I tend to speak way too fast in English, in Spanish, and I'm trying to train myself this year to speak slowly. And maybe I was speaking quickly when you came and watched me. I probably was. But my goal has been to speak really slowly and really clearly. I find that it does 3 things really well. 1, even if you have kids like Amelia does, who are really highly proficient, right, in German, it gets them to hear every single sound. And therefore, they'll be better spellers and better, like when they write, and they'll be better at pronouncing German because they've heard you model it. So it does that for your high flyers, for your kids that are like really ready to go, right? Number 2, it helps bring like a calming energy to the class, right? Because even if they want to show off their skills, whether they're, highly proficient or whether they're novice learners, it helps everybody to go, okay, we're in this together because you're speaking slowly. And it helps me to easily check comprehension. So if I'm speaking really fast, they may not be able to understand me, and I'm not taking the time to look around the room and see the kids that are spacing out, or see the kids that are talking to their friends, right? The slower I speak, the more likely I am to check in with their eyes. And I remind them of this often, that like I need to see their eyes, because their eyes will tell me so very much. If a kid is lost, I can tell, and I can check on them, and either in private, because I know they're sensitive, or in public, because I want to model, and I know the kid's okay with it. I want to model that we all get confused. It's okay. So if I know a kid is okay with it, then I, because of my relationship with that kid, I can look at them, know they're confused, and help them to go like, are you sure you're okay? Like, did you, and ask them, but again, only if I know I can do that in a safe way without making them feel, stupid or something. I never want that. So yeah. Do you all have any questions about speaking slowly or checking comprehension? I would say on average, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong. Gabby came to one of my classes and so did Amelia, actually. Yeah, Amelia, correct me if I'm wrong. I would venture to guess that in an average class for me, which is 45 minutes, I probably check comprehension between 50 and 100 times. Do you think that's true, Amelia and Gabby? Tell me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong, but I check all the time, because I don't want to keep going if they're not with me. It doesn't serve me. Yeah, it doesn't serve them. So I'm all constantly saying thumbs up, thumbs down. I understand. I don't understand. I'm asking kids to repeat it back to me in English. For me, that's L1. Yeah, I'm constantly checking their comprehension. At least 50 times a class, really. And that sounds excessive, but it lets even your kids that are what I love about it too, actually, is the kids that are highly proficient, if you're teaching a class of, kids that you might have some kids that know a lot of Spanish, right? And they want to show off, they can. And I always tell them you showing off that you know so much is so cool. And I tell them this in private because you're helping everyone else and you're showing off and you're just amazing. And it really boosts their egos and lets them know that I see you, I see what you're capable of doing. Keep it up. You're helping yourself and you're helping me and you're helping the whole class. And I keep saying that to them over and over again because they forget. They're some of them just do it, they're really good. So yeah, and so Malud, you could any kids that are getting your English, you could easily get them to translate back into Arabic or French or whatever, and they show off. It's so cool. So, do you guys have any questions about that? Okay. All right, let's see, what time is it? Okay, I have too many strategies to show you apparently. So it's good that my slideshow is shorter. Maybe. Okay, the daily structure. The daily structure of our classes is so important, I think. I try to make it very, very, very clear. And I don't know if I did this when Amelia was there or when you were there, but I try to go back to that schedule. I think when you were there, did I go back to it?
Yeah.
Okay. For a while I wasn't doing it because I was doing assessments only. So, but yeah, so I go back to the daily schedule and I go back and say, hey, remember our goal for today was this. So if I ever get lost or they ever get lost, I keep going back there. So they know what I write up the plan, put it up on the board. This is what it looks like in my adult classes. And I use this with all ages, actually. This is what it looks like in the teaching a class for HRDC. Every day I write down what our password is. I have a daily password every day that we repeat at the beginning and the end, and sometimes in the middle. And then we always do a brief meditation. I always say by the end of class, you will be able to do this, answer questions. And that leaves it open. That leaves it open for your high flyers, your kids that are up here with the language and your kids that are down here. Because you're either going to say, give them a true false question. Like I think I did, no, correcto, incorrecto, like correct, incorrect. So your goal has to relate to what's down here. Or down here, if you get that far. So by the end of class, you will be able to respond to some questions about preferences of other people. So maybe your question of the day is like, what's your favorite movie, right? And they have to draw something on a card. And then at the end, you're gonna say like, did Maloud say this? And then the novice kids will say yes or no. But like within Amelia's case, her highly proficient kids will be expected to say more. And you're gonna call on them. And that's when they can shine. If they're okay with that, check with them ahead of time. But you'd be like, oh, Melissa, what did Maloud say? And then she would have to say the whole thing in the target language, in Arabic, in German, in Spanish, right? In Swahili, whatever it is. So your highly proficient kids, you're relying on them. Thank you. Yeah, you can totally use it, steal it away. And I've got, if you want to translate this to German or Arabic or any other language, French, I can send you these things. You need a template for this. So I'll put that in there. I'll remember to do that. But it's so cool to see them know what the plan is and be able to go back to it. Like, oh yeah, she said we were going to do this, and then you do it, right?
Yeah.
So here, like on this day, we played a game. They had to respond true, false. And then we would do our writing. So this was, the reading, we did a little bit of reading from the last, we read this out loud and translated it. Then we wrote this up. Yeah. And then in the next class, we would read that. So, to be honest, I don't think I wrote all of that up in the class, but full disclosure. But yeah, so this is our routine every day. Is we have the password, a brief meditation. I clearly state the goal. We do a little reading from the last that relates to the last class. We always do some sort of game or interactive activity here. I always ask them a few questions here to make sure they understood everything. Then I write down, we do writing, a little bit of writing, maybe sometimes just 2 sentences. If they can't write, they can draw. If they can't draw, then they just listen, right? If they can write, like in Amelia's case, your higher kids, they're going to be adding their own thoughts to what you wrote. And your younger kids are going to be drawing, or novice kids are going to be drawing or writing a few words that they understood. And maybe translating them if you want them to do that. So every day I do a little bit of writing and a little bit of reading. And then every day we talk a little bit about the grammar. I say, what did you notice? That's it. That's all I do for grammar. 5 minutes. You can see it right here. 5 minutes. Oops, it's not letting me show it, but right there. So every day I say, what did you notice? And what do you want to teach the class? And I love this because it empowers the kids. This is all from Tina Hargaden. I made the sheet, but I stole it from her. She says that, what did you notice? What do you want to teach the class? So that way you're empowering, even your novice learners can say like, I noticed, in Spanish, there's always an S on the end of a word that has more than one, just like in English, right? Or maybe they say like, I noticed that this symbol in Mandarin looks like that word, right? Or in English, I don't know. They notice things. They're really smart, and their grammatical brain is there. I just don't focus on it because they say only 4% of the world's population likes and benefits from explicit grammar instruction. Only 4% of the world. So most of the time, grammar impedes or stops our ability to communicate. If we're focusing on grammar in our brains, we're not communicating fluidly. And I felt that when I went to Madrid. I lived in Madrid. And I was like I had been taking Spanish for almost my whole life. And I got there. And because my instruction was mostly grammar based and memorization and, verb conjugation based, I got so stuck sometimes. Yeah, Maloud, yeah, you totally get this. I know you do. And Malud, you know at least 3 languages that I know, right? Or do you know more? I know you know Arabic, English, and French. What else? You probably know more, I feel.
Oh, there's a local language here in Morocco. It's called Tamazight. I do speak it, but not really fluent. And also I'll speak a little bit of Dutch.
Oh my gosh, you're so amazing.
Ja, ik sprak Duits, maar echt een beetje.
Whoa.
Very, very little.
You are so inspiring. Oh my gosh, I need to learn more. I want to be more like Malud. And Amelia, how many languages do you speak? I know you speak English and German, maybe more.
That's tiny, I'm pequeño, Spanish.
Yay! Oh yeah,
Español.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. So great. Oh my gosh. How about, and Becky, I know you speak Spanish and English. Any more that I don't know about? Oh, and Portuguese. Amazing. I only know a little bit of French. And a little bit of American Sign Language. A little bit of American Sign Language. I need to keep learning.
I only
And you know,
Spanish and English.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're all learning. We're all learning. It's
Yeah.
all good. So yeah, so anyway, I found that grammar really has stopped me from communicating, because communication is messy, and therefore kids are going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. It's okay. I don't worry about it. I used to worry about it. I used to want to be perfect. But I don't worry about it anymore. So, but they teach me things, like they notice things that I've never noticed. Like, oh, this is the greatest thing. Okay. Sorry. I got really excited about this the other day. One kid noticed that por qué in Spanish, like why, is 2 words, right? They said por qué. And I always went like this, por qué, with 2 hands. They said, and then I said, because is
I
1
that.
word. They came up with that. They said, like, they noticed that I say I have 2 hands up whenever I say por qué, why. And then whenever I say because, I use 1 hand that comes down. And they clued into that. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Like, so it was like, por qué, 2 words, por qué is 1 word. So why and because they picked up on it, and now I use it all the time. So I love it when they can like teach us something. Okay, so let's see. So the daily structure I found has been really, really important to calm my brain. It takes me 5 minutes to write it up on the board or to put it in that slide that I just showed you. And I have a list of strategies that I plug in. And I always leave room for my kids that can do more with the language, like Malud, I'm sure you have kids, and Becky does too, and Amelia does too, and you do too, that can do more. So I always pick a strategy where they can do more, and then a strategy where the novice kids can do less if they choose to, or they can try to reach, you know? And it's okay. I want to leave that room in there. They can either draw, they can write words in English, they can write words in the target language for me. So yeah. Okay. Daily structure, so important. Let's do a quick little brain break. Everybody massage your head. Oh, no, I didn't want to click on that. Shoot. That's the template that you could use if you want. Okay, here we go. Did it work? It's not letting me go forward. Okay, let's do a quick brain break now that I got it working. Okay, so everybody massage your head. Do a quick massage of your brain. Say thank you, brain. Gracias, mi cerebro. Okay, so with anchor charts, let's talk about that briefly, and then I'm going to ask for your input. So anchor charts are a really great way to basically say these are the words that are important during this lesson, or ideally they're longer, longer than one class, but like they'd be words that you would be using in a unit, let's say, or for a month, and you're going to keep going back to them. So when I use anchor charts for me in my classroom right now, are words that I put on the board that I keep returning to. So whether it's like, if I'm talking about the weather, they're words that relate to the weather, or that where we can describe the weather. We did a whole like unit or cycle, or I'm sorry, phase on places. And so when I was talking about places, I think we were doing that when you were there, Amelia, like maybe a little bit. We were talking about, I had the kids write a place they want to go to, or a place they have been to that they loved. And we described all the places. Like normally in, Costa Rica, it's like the weather is like this, and there's lots of, fruit, I don't know, whatever. So we would describe Costa Rica just a little bit. And those words like hace, like, the weather is like this, where the words hace was on my board, like for a while. Another word that we kept returning to was like está, like it is, it like talking about like where something is located. If you're focusing on food, like maybe you want to have some words up there that describe food, like, it's delicious, or and this would be on your anchor chart, right? And an anchor chart, everybody chooses to do it differently. But again, these are words you're going to keep coming back to. They're like they're your anchor. They ground you back to the topic that you've picked, right? So it doesn't matter what you're talking about, but they're words that you're going to keep going back to for a few weeks, really, ideally, or at least a few class periods, until you feel the kids are ready to move on from it. So Amelia, if you have an anchor chart in your class for German, you're going to be describing a place in Germany, let's say, or a place in Switzerland where they speak German, I don't know. And you're going to keep going back to those words, and your highly proficient kids are going to be able to use those really quickly, right? Well, then you put in some words on your anchor chart that are going to help them improve their writing and their speaking. Conjunctions, like, I like Berlin because would be up there. Or I like Berlin because it's beautiful, therefore would be a word I would put up there for your highly proficient kids, to help them improve their writing and their speaking. So that way you might have a novice kid who starts using those words, but you've also got your highly proficient kids who are really going to get good at using them faster, right? So then their language will start to sound incredibly academic. Like it's like they could write a book, right? Because they've got these conjunctions, but they've also got these really great, describing words. If you're describing Berlin, let's say, right? Like the weather is like this. It is located here. It is, whatever. They like to eat this. With your pre-literate kids, an anchor chart is great because you could draw a picture. Like you could come up with a symbol. Like Becky or Gabby could write like therefore, and the kids come up with a therefore symbol. Like I think therefore is like a rainbow. Like they'll come up with something, and then that'll be your symbol for therefore in Spanish or German or Arabic or whatever. And if you put a symbol up there, then the kids like have connection to it because it's visual. We're very visual people, right? And if they're pre-literate, you're getting them to tap their toes into this more academic language or this more complex language that you want them to be able to do one day, that you know that they will do one day, right? They will be able to use. So same for you in English, Malud, same thing. You could like either put a symbol that the class decides upon, or you could write it in L1, in Arabic, or, whatever it is. So you could do both. Sometimes I do both. So I'm like, okay, what's a symbol for ase? It makes, or it does, right? Or it is, in some cases, right? Then they'll come up with something for that. Like it, like they might have a plus sign, or it might be something symbol like a triangle, like it can be whatever.
Yeah.
But as long as they find meaning in it, if you have a visual and maybe the word in English or whatever your L1 is, they're so powerful. I try not to have more than like 10 words on an anchor chart. Some people prefer less, like 5 to 10 is my max for me. I think when I was giving assessments, I only had 6. Because it's the beginning of the year. I wanted them to become really good at using because. Additionally was one of my words, but was one of my words. And then I had all the other, like, it is, or it makes, or hace, está, those kinds of words. So, ooh, Becky, here's a link to what one of my class created after the first few weeks. How to talk about the weather and basic story starting words. Oh my gosh, let's pull it up. Okay, this is great. I love anchor charts. The more I use them, the more I love them. Yes. Yeah, so I put in, oh, I love it. Nice. Okay, so like it's totally fine that, oh no, you're good. So whatever, like this is totally amazing that there's so many words, because if she keeps coming back to them and the kids feel okay with it, like she feels like they're ready for all these words, that's amazing, right? Like every class is different. And then they have this to keep anchoring them back to the words you're focusing on. This is huge. And look how Becky has like a mix of English and some pictures and different colors, like the colors, the kids that aren't colorblind will appreciate that, right? Opposites. Yeah, you've got all kinds of things. This is so great. Opposites are the best. I love that. Yeah, happy and sad, feliz y triste, bien, mal y bien, good and bad, bad and good. These are great. This is amazing. Thank you. This is a perfect example of an anchor chart. So these are words that Becky has chosen, maybe with her class, maybe on her own, that she's going to focus on and keep coming back to for at least a few lessons, if not more. This is perfect. Thank you, Becky. If you're okay with this, I'm going to add this later to the slideshow. Heck yeah. It's a great example. Yeah, I love anchor charts. You should be proud of them. You should be proud of them. Okay. And then this is the last thing, and then I want to model some of these things for you. Well, okay. Yeah, I think. So basically, if kids have different learning styles, we want to find ways to incorporate all of them as much as possible, right? Which can feel very overwhelming, right? So for me, I like to move. You can probably tell I like to move. I like to speak, and I love to read. Okay. And I love listening. So those 4 things, like I identify with all of those, really, actually, in reality. But kids, like some kids are really avid readers. Some kids are going to really shine when it comes to writing, or they're really going to like blow your mind when it comes to drawing. So if I can provide a little bit of movement in every class, a little bit of listening, and every day we read, whether it's reading on a slideshow, or I think when you guys came, they were reading books. Yeah, we read every day in silence for 5 minutes. You could put up a slide for like a beginner slide and an advanced slide next side by side, maybe for you, Amelia. And they choose their own adventure. And the advanced kids, you know, the more highly proficient kids can take more notes and process the language or draw. And then the novice kids might just be getting through the novice material with you, right? Maybe you do it out loud. Maybe you do it, maybe they do it with a partner, right? One thing I do often is called tennis translation, or some people call it volleyball translation. So if Gabby and I are partners, we would look at the board and we would read, she would read in Spanish in my class, and then I would translate to English. And then I read in the next sentence in Spanish, and she says that second sentence in English. And then she says the third sentence in Spanish, and then I translate the third sentence to English, and back and forth. So like Spanish, English, Spanish. Get it? Yeah, I think you get it. So L2, L1, L2, L1, L2. Yeah. So back and forth. And reading with partners, I find kids love it. It boosts their confidence. You can pair up kids, Amelia, like a highly proficient kid with a novice kid to help them support each other, right? Same for you, Malud, in your classes. Anybody can do this. Becky, you could do in your breakout groups or even in person, put them in breakout groups and have them do a reading or whatever. And then they can, yeah, or you could make a novice group and a, you know, and they have to go around a circle, you know, like the highly proficient group reads the high proficiency text, right? And then the novice group reads the novice one with you, maybe. So giving them some options, and sometimes you can find those texts online, like they're have you ever heard of like for us Spanish teachers and English teachers, Malud, News ELA, I'll put it in the chat. It's a free website, News ELA. Some people call it Newsella, but it allows you to take one article, like one newspaper article or one magazine article, and either make it more complex with the Lexile. They call it the Lexile number, I think is what it's called. Correct me if you know more about this than I do. But the Lexile number would be higher for higher proficiency kids, and then lower for the novice learners, like for, you know. So, and it allows you to take the same news article in Spanish and English or in English and just change the Lexile number. It's really cool. That's one example, and it's free if you're a teacher. And then Amelia, they might have things in German, but I don't know. I can look into that too if you need more reading materials. Like if you Google, yeah, please do, Becky, ask about some German stuff. I know, oh, Karen Cox, awesome, that's great. And then Amelia, another German option would be, and this would help with you, without any of you, if you haven't, and world literature, world language will pay for this. There's an e-lit subscription you can get. So electronic literature or e-lit. And if you do a subscribe to e-lit, you can pick out materials for your kids to read. And you can assign level 5 to your higher kids, like kids that love to read, the kids that are proficient in German or, you know, in English, let's say, or Spanish. And then they have novice readings too. So I could, if you want, I could show you an e-lit thing. E-lit, the e-lit app is what it's called. Yeah, e-lit app. Let's see. Well, let me. Yeah, so it's really nice because it gives you options, and the kids will appreciate you because you're getting them to read with things that they can easily decode and process, that aren't super long usually. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, but let's see, let's go to the content, the library. So the library is pretty extensive. And I think it's only like $50 for the year. So world language will pay for it if you haven't used all your supplies up. Oh, where is it? Manage content. Let's see if it'll let me in. I was having trouble with it a few days ago. It's not letting me do it. Okay. Sugar. Yeah, I was having trouble accessing it the other day. Maybe. Oh, I'll have to, I could show you an example, but so first of all, let's circle back. Did you all feel like we've tackled some of your initial hopes or questions? So, right, let's take a minute in silence. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Actually, yeah, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to stop for like, let's take like a 2-minute break. And in that time, if you can, or maybe let's take a 5-minute break. Go to the bathroom, get some water. And then in the meantime, will you write in the chat, or will you write whether we have tackled some of your questions? And think of one strategy you might want to see in action. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, please, no worries. I know, what a great guy. Yeah, he's so great. Okay. He's napping. Okay. So I'll write it in the chat. So 1, get water, go take a break. Number 2, write in the chat any questions that remain. And number 3, write which strategy you would like to see in action. Okay, so I'll give us about 5 minutes. Let's be back at 10:40 Mountain Time. So 12:40 in East Coast time, 10:40 Mountain. What time would that be in Morocco? $6:30. Oh, that's amazing. Okay. Gosh. Okay. We'll see you in about 5 minutes. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Card talk. Yes. Okay. We'll do card talk or something else. All right. And something else, hopefully. Okay. We'll see you in 5 minutes. All right. I'm going to, I think, pause them. Okay, so Amelia, you wanted to know what makes you say that you need to memorize it?
So in Spanish, you have masculine and feminine, right? So you'd use el or la, or una or un.
Yeah.
Well, in German, the rough thing is we have der, die, and das. And there are some kind of there's a huge list of rules or road signs that you can follow to try to guess the gender of a word.
Yeah.
But they're not very consistent. Usually words that end with UNG are feminine, for example. So you can usually guess, but not always.
Yeah. Same in Spanish.
So yeah, there's a huge list. It'd take a whole page to write down all the rules or the guidelines you could follow to figure out the gender, but it's not very logical. So I know my professors were not very strict about me learning genders, but it's continued to be something I'm a little insecure about when I'm speaking.
Yeah. Me too.
Because I'm is it der, die, oder das? I don't know. I'll just have to go for it when I'm speaking. So I'm not sure. I've just started kind of explaining that to the kids. And it's hard because they're like, oh, so how do I know? And I'm like, it's not logical. You just kind of have to get a feel for it. But it's kind of something that you either have to say, like, this is open-handed, like, learn it as you go, just try to get a feel for it, or be super strict about, like, every time you say the word, you have to say it with the article so you can remember the gender.
So, all right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Are you finished?
So
Keep
for me,
going.
it's been hard, like, trying to decide which one to go for, so I don't confuse them too much.
Yeah. So here are my thoughts on it. Everybody's different, but this is what I find has really worked for me and my students. I do not stress it at all. I just keep speaking to them in Spanish, as you guys saw. And honestly, sometimes I mess it up. Like, I'm sure Gabby's heard me and been like, ooh, that's not right. Like, and I honestly, I'm okay with it. If she feels that way, because I personally, for me in my classroom, I want my kids to feel safe, knowing that they're going to make mistakes, knowing that I'm going to make mistakes too. And I keep modeling that by going and looking words up. I keep modeling that like whenever I write, I edit. And I'm modeling that I'm not perfect and it's okay. And so I model that, like, I'm constantly listening to things in Spanish, like music, podcasts, audiobooks. I keep reading, like I keep watching movies in Spanish. I am a lifelong learner of Spanish in this case, and other things, right? But I feel that if we dive too much into grammar, it's going to make your kids, I worry that it might make your kids feel insecure and that they can't communicate and that they're going to offend somebody, right? Honestly, I'll be honest, I don't know about you guys, but for me, even when a native speaker corrects me, which I'm fine with, and I appreciate, and I love it when that happens, because it shows that they care about me, right? And they want to help me. Honestly, I really don't remember. Like, I wish I could say I take every correction that a native speaker has given me and incorporated it and used it properly the next time. But that isn't always the case. Like, sometimes, yes, like sometimes a native speaker will correct me and I learn it, like, and I'm like, yes, I got it, right? Like, that's cool. But honestly, sometimes, like, I'll meet a native speaker and they say it one way in Guatemala and they say it in a very different way in Spain or Argentina or in Chile or Bolivia. Like, I can't make everyone happy, and I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with showing that there's messiness in me and in the language and in learning the language. And I'd rather have my kids very sloppily, because they're novices, say things because they're confident, rather than have a scared kid who's terrified to say anything because they don't want to mess up the gender or something. That's me. Amelia, you need to find your own way. I just feel, for me, like, I'd rather have literally, like, I always use this example. My kid, maybe you've heard me say this, but my daughter, when she was little, she was like 2. She was very proficient in English for a 2-year-old. Yeah. And she would come up to me and say, "Mommy, change my diaper." And she meant diaper. But was I ever going to say, "I won't change your diaper until you get it right"? No. Because I know that her language, to get up to that point, like, she'd been listening to me in utero. She'd been playing with the language as a baby, making babbling sounds and playing with her tongue and moving things around and doing all that good stuff. And then she said her first word. And then she slowly started talking more and more. Was it perfect? No. Was it messy? Often. Did I misunderstand her? All the time, right? Like, But on that occasion, I remember being like, yep, let's go change your diaper, right? Like, you want that thing off. I can tell by your intensity and your excitement. And it doesn't matter how you pronounce it, right? I don't care. So communication is messy. And, I would like to hope that I'm modeling, like, to the kids, if somebody came here from Russia, let's say, or like Serbia or anywhere in the world, and they were trying to learn English, I want to model patience for those people learning English, just like I would want someone to have patience with me practicing my French or even my Spanish, like, I mean, there are even English speakers, like our native English speakers who will correct me sometimes. Like, so anyway, it's all good. I'm not worried about the correction piece, but I just think that, like, I'm hoping that we can model for our students this, like, vulnerability and trying to be imperfect and unbrave at the same time. I don't know. Does that make sense, Amelia?
Yeah, that's really helpful. Because
Okay.
it was going to be either like, don't stress it or stress it real hard. And I think you've given a really good case for not stressing it. And that's where I was leaning anyway. So
Yeah.
that's really helpful.
Good. Yeah. And I think if you do those like 5 minutes of grammar things, they're going to bring it up. Like, I have kids who will every day be like, wait, why is that spelled like that? Or they'll ask me like the other day I was talking about babies, like, and I said, bebe, like bebe over and over again. And then a kid said, I've been stressing to them, I've been reminding them to drink water. And so I said, bebe agua. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, wait, what? And so I wrote it on the board, and they're very similar, but one has an accent, the other one doesn't. And we talked about it, and they were like, oh, that's interesting. Like, and it was just a cool, like, grammatical moment, but I didn't have to like drill it in their heads. And honestly, I don't even care if they get it right or wrong in the future. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care, because I want them to communicate. Like, even if they say bebe agua, I don't care. Like, I know what they're saying, and I know they're not talking about drinking babies.
No.
Or at least I hope they're not.
Yeah.
Maybe they are, because middle schoolers are weird. I love them so much, but they're weird. I'm weird too, so it's okay. I can say that. So anyway, that's my thing, is I spend like 5 minutes on it, and if they're curious, if they bring it up, then I go into it. But I try not to, because I find it makes them insecure. Yeah. Anyway, Malud, Becky, Gabby, do you have anything to add about that? Any more expertise to offer, Amelia? Ooh, you said, Malud said, it is like the acquisition of a first language as a way to learn. Yeah, totally. Did you want to add more to that, Malud?
Oh, okay. Sometimes what you said is almost similar, like when you put students in a context, very rich context of the second language, and where he can just hear and listen, so that he acquires. So it's not necessary for him to pronounce the word correctly at first stage, but that comes like automatically, like after terms or after years. Let's not say years, but after classes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And they say, I mean, someone did research on this at one point, like, you have to, like, in order to hear just like one word, like get one word in your brain correctly, right? You need a context, right? You need it like a broader context. And you also need to hear it like hundreds of times. Like, sometimes, like, depending on the word, some words, like curse words. Oh, kids love curse words. They learn curse words after like hearing it once or twice. Literally, it's crazy, right? Because there's taboo associated with it, right? It's so compelling. Yes. But a word like, I can't think of a good word, like because, it might take them like 500 times to learn that word, of hearing it and reading it and interacting with it. because it's not as interesting. Yeah, it takes forever. It's so boring. It's because, right? Like, so anyway, that's, yeah, it's so interesting. It's, yeah, green is big. Yeah, totally. um, and then Becky, you made some really good points. She said, I spend time teaching them how you don't need to know everything to be good at
Yeah.
it. Exactly. You got to honor where they are. Yeah, if you honor where they are in the moment, then there's so many successes to celebrate, right? Yeah. And I am overcome with embarrassment when yeah, when a native speaker corrects you, Becky. I think that's what you're referring to. Yep, me too. I know. I used to get really embarrassed when native speakers corrected me, but now I just like, I'm like, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
and then I
Yes.
move on. And I sometimes remember what they told me, and I sometimes don't. So,
That happens with me because I am learning English. So when a native correct me, I say thank you, because if
Yeah.
I continue doing
Cares.
like that or speaking like that, it's embarrassing me for me. So
totally, totally.
it's amazing when
They care about you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like that.
that's great.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the embarrassment for me like Becky's saying, it makes it hard for me to remember the correction.
Yeah.
Like I usually remember it when I'm talking to the person, but then later, because there's like pressure, like, okay, they corrected me, I got to get this, right? Like, but then I usually forget it, sadly. Unless I'm talking to them for a long time and I'm like, gotta get it. Okay, I'm gonna get it, right? Like, anyway.
I would love to share something with you.
Go for it, yeah.
So we spoke about how it's not like good to start teaching about grammar for beginners because it makes things complicated and hard to learn for students. So I have two groups that I teach Arabic online. So kids 7 and 8 grades, and I have an adult class. So I got lots of questions about grammar from the adult class.
Yes,
They
adults
always
think
want
they
to ask.
think they need it. Yeah.
Yes, they want to understand why is it an S and instead of this there is that, and to come up to a certain level where you can explain this to beginner, that is they need like to have a certain amount of knowledge about this language. Like it's good to start like just by communication, and then they move to this stage.
Yeah.
So last time I gave 2 classes about how to conjugate verbs in Arabic in the simple present with the different subjects, pronouns. And I felt at the end like I made things complicated for them. Because there were like lots of questions. Why is this prefix? Why is this suffix?
Yeah.
Where is the root? Where is so it's so at the end I said we're just beginners at this stage. So maybe after a certain time, we can discuss grammatical issues.
Totally. Yeah. And I think Becky has brought up some really good points. She said there's a theory that you can only learn as much about an L2, so your second language, as that you know about your L1. So you need background. Are you talking about background knowledge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you live in a home that never had a table, like you never had a table growing up ever, and then you are finally in a place like, or where someone starts coming into your home to do classes and they're talking to you about tables. You're like, I have no idea what a table is because you've never used one and you've never seen it. You would have no idea what they're talking about ever. Like you don't even have that background knowledge to be able to learn the word for a table because you don't know what it is, right? Like I love that analogy. Like someone gave that to me a few years ago and it's stuck in my brain because it's like we need background knowledge. Yeah. Or the subjunctive. Yeah. That's what they hear. Yes, totally. Or adjectives. Yes. I know. I think it's interesting too, because like we live in a time where we can see things on movies and videos and in songs and we have so much media coming at us, right? In some places in the world, right? And so we can experience things that we don't know anything about, but yet we still don't have like all the background knowledge to really understand what it's like to live on the moon, right? Like, because like very few of us have lived on the moon. Like, anyway, yeah. Okay, there are so many good comments coming in from all of you. Okay, Becky added this really great article about pleasure reading, and don't forget to check that out. It's up further in the comments. I can send the chat afterwards. And then she said, I have students get frustrated that I don't know every word in Spanish, even though I'm a Spanish teacher, right? I do too. And then I go, okay, do you know every word in English? They always say yes. The kids that are like, you know, like smart Alex. And and then I bring up a word like what's a word I always use? Perceptible, or like, you know, like a word that you don't use every day, like turgid. I bring up that word often. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, exactly. You don't know every word in English, you know? So anyway, yeah, I always do that. I always have like one word in my brain that I can like pull out that makes me sound really smart. And then the kids are like, oh, I don't know that word. Just to prove that point, but that's kind of mean of me, I guess, maybe. And then what else? So many good things. Okay. Side comment. Thank you for this. I love being surrounded by language acquisition geeky friends. Yes, I know. And I loved your comment, Becky, about the soap. In Mexico, she said, I always shared how I asked for more sopa in the bathroom when I lived in Mexico, and how mortified I was when I realized I had asked for soup instead of soap. But they probably knew what you were talking about. And yeah, the context is important. That's awesome. I love it. And then she said, yes, I show them an academic journal in English. That's a good way to do it. Oh, can you read all of this? Probably not. Or an article from The Economist. That's a good one. I can't understand everything in The Economist. Me neither. They got some really heady topics in there. And I'm like, I gotta study this one. Okay, we are out of time. If you want to stay on, you're welcome to stay on. If you need to go, I'm happy, you know, feel free to go. Don't feel like you have to stay. I wanted to demonstrate card talk, how I would do it online and in person. So if you want to stay, feel free to stay. If you need to go, I will not be offended. But I want everybody, I'm going to put up for you on Zoom, used to have a whiteboard feature on here. Here we go. So I put up a whiteboard feature in Zoom. And so Malud, let's see, I'm going to draw it in since we have a small class. I am going to draw a line down the middle and make it into 4 blocks. Okay, so this is for Amelia. Amelia is going to draw in that space. Malud's going to draw here. Becky, if you want to, if you can, draw here. We are going to draw our favorite thing. Okay. And then you're going to, after you draw, and Gabby, you and I are going to draw on these. So we're going to draw our favorite thing. And then if you think you need to, please, to help me write down, do you want a marker or are you good? Okay, good. Yeah. Ooh, will you do it with a marker though, so they can see it? It might be easier to see.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
What color do you want?
Wow. Pink.
Of course, right? It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, or do you want a big marker? Are you good with that one?
Yeah. Maybe this one.
Okay, perfect. All right. You can do both.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we are gonna draw our favorite thing. You guys are gonna draw on the whiteboard if you can. Hopefully I've given you access to do it. Did I give you access? Sometimes you have to give access, I think. Nope, you should, let me know if you can't do it in the chat. It says you can.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, if you need to leave at any time, Malou, don't be offended. Or I will not be offended. You can go at any time. So awesome. If you think your drawing needs clarification, actually, just to be sure, will you write down what it is so that I don't have to ask you? So write down what it is if you can, using the text feature. There should be a text feature on the bar that popped up. Okay, what is your favorite thing? Oh, it's always so hard. I always tell the students I'm always working on my drawing skills. Because so therefore they shouldn't feel anxious about theirs.
That's a dog.
Ah, yay. Mine too. I drew my dog.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question of the day was my favorite thing. Okay. And so with pre-literate kids, they're going to draw something and they're going to put probably a lot of time into it, right? And they may not be able to write like, this is a banana or this is my favorite stuffed animal, right? So if you need to, you can walk around and write what it is for them, either in the target language or in their native language or both, so that there's a connection for them. And then I always have them write their name or you write it for them.
Okay.
And then I make sure to go around while they're drawing. I give them more time than we have right now. And I say, you know, do the best you can and nobody's going to judge you. And then if they want me to share, then I ask them, I said, can I share yours? And then if I do, I usually put a check mark.
Okay.
So I put a check mark for my notes. If they're okay with me sharing,
Okay.
I put a star. This is my system. You're gonna find your own way. But I put a star if they don't want me to share it. If they're like, I don't want everybody to see my, and then, but then if they say no, if they put a star, I say, can I still talk about it
Okay.
without showing the picture? They say yes. Usually they do. Because they want to be talked about, right? Like they want to be seen, you know? So anyway, so I would go around and I would like talk to them in Spanish and say like, oh, like Amelia, ¿te gusta el jardín? And Amelia would say, yeah, I like the garden. A mí me gusta el jardín, you know, and she can either respond in Spanish if she's highly proficient or not, it's okay. So I'm just talking when they're drawing, and then I'll walk around and be like, oh, Malud, are you doing okay? Está bien, you didn't draw anything. He's got to go. But I'll be like, I'll check on Malud, right? How you doing? ¿Cómo está? You know, and then I'll come around to Becky, like, oh, Becky, ¿te gustan plantas? ¿A ti te gustan las plantas, Becky? And Becky will say, sí, a mí me gustan las plantas, you know, whatever. Becky's highly proficient, so yes. And and then I'll come to Gabby and I'll be like, Gabby, oh, es obvio, te gustan los perros. ¿Ese es tu perro?
Yeah, I have one dog with big ears. So
Oh,
ears.
tiene orejas grandes. Oh, increíble. And so I'll like talk to Gabby about her dogs and find out their names and all the good stuff, right? And then again, meanwhile, I'm marking on their paper if they're pre-literate, if I'm in person, you know, a check mark. I can show it, a star, I can't show it. And then I have that extended conversation, like, can I talk about you, right? Now, if you're doing this online, that can be trickier. But Sometimes I'll say, put a little dot, you know, if they're pre-literate, if they don't want you to talk about it. Okay. The hard part with that is, you know, they may not know how to make a dot, right? Or they may not know how to draw at all. So I'll ask them to do it on paper and show it like this. I've also, I'll ask them, let's see if I can show in my classes online with pre-literate kids, I had their parents before class take a picture of what they drew. And then their parents would send a description like, this is their dog. They love their dog. Their dog is this many years old. We got it from this place, whatever they think they need to share with me.
Okay.
And then I talk about that and I show the picture. And oftentimes I write about it too. So let me show you, I'm going to show you what I do really quick. Let's go back to here. And we're gonna go to Canva. So I taught a class online one summer where a group of kids, so it was the summer, like where COVID was really, you know, where nobody was going anywhere, basically, 2020. And I had all the kids send me their pictures. Their parents emailed them to me. And where is it? I might have to go up here and write it in. But basically, what I found to be so beautiful about this is it was a way for me to get to know the kids, even though we were far away. It gave me a way to, you know, not only get to know them, but also like get to know what their home life was like, you know, what they're curious about. So I could design my whole class around their interests, basically. So this is the book. Let me share it with you. Okay, so, oh, and here's what the thing looks like in German, the special person in German looks like. Pretty cool, huh? Where do you live? Ich wohne in. Did I say that correct at all?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. It looks pretty good. I like this.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some good pictures in there. I like that. Okay, so we're gonna stop sharing that. We're gonna go over here to the book. Okay, so we created a book, and I loved doing this. It was like the highlight of my day. I did it every day for like an hour and a half, I think, that summer. So this girl, this was my favorite because my last name is Wolf and
Yeah.
I love wolves. So Jenny likes wolves because they are interesting. This wolf, this incredible wolf is howling at the moon. So she told me that in class and I just typed it up in Spanish. And then Jenny is apparently very talented and can draw, following a guide. So we made it clear that she did not create this completely on her own, which is fine. And following a guide or another photo or drawing, right? And so then I put in some icons and I made it the language a little more comprehensible. And the logo relates to this word and to this picture. And so I would, you know, do this, make that connection with my cursor over and over again. And now Jenny has this thing that's out there in the world, and whether her parents chose to print it all or this page or nothing, she feels really seen in this class. And so every day I focused on one kid at a time, and it was really precious. And Jenny obviously is pretty talented, but another kid did this. She followed a guide to build her Lego house, and she wanted to share this with us. So Bianca, we didn't write much because Bianca didn't come, I don't think, after like the first or second day. But this kid, I love this because this kid, Sam, just like, that's all he could draw. That's okay. So we were able to, he talked about it. And then I was able to add things. And then this kid, my favorite things are dinosaurs, cats, and weird drawings and stuff, right? Like there's totally spelling mistakes in there. It's okay. but Jason was able to communicate. Yeah, so as you can see, the kids like each had very different things to talk about. Like this girl didn't even submit anything, so I wanted to talk about her, and it was fine. Like I was able to talk about her and find out what she loved. Yeah, this kid wanted to be in the picture, you know, so it could take lots of different forms, but I find that it's really special to the kids to have somebody writing about them in a language that they're curious about. So does that help you understand card talk with pre-literate kids, Becky? And not all of these kids were pre-literate, but oh, bye Maloon. I'm sorry, I didn't say goodbye, Maloon. Yeah, so that's one example. Another one, if you want to see, is with pre-literate kids. And Amelia, you could share something like this, and your higher proficient kids that are more at a higher level, they could write their own thing. They could submit a picture. They could do this, and then on the back, right, they can explain it in German if they're capable of that. And so they're able to show off their skills. Maybe they use the anchor chart to extend their language. You know, they've got those more, they call it academic words, you know, like that, like the conjunctions and such that'll help them make their language sound more complex. Encourage them to use, I always say, like, I encourage you to use at least 3 of the words on the anchor chart, or 4 if I'm having them do it on their own. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I could also show you one more if you're curious, but that's how I do it with pre-literate kids or kids that are online. And then I had another book I wanted to show you from last year. Where was it? Here it was. Yeah, so hopefully that helps you. And then do you have anything else you would like to see today? Let's see, we've got Becky says baby is up. Okay, no worries. Yeah, Canva is my favorite thing in the world. If you need help getting a subscription, let me know. It's made online teaching and in-person teaching for me very colorful, visual, fun. This is the Canva book I made. Where is it? Oh, I did 2 or 3 special people at a time. So I would talk about just a few kids at a time here. But where are the pictures? I don't know. Oh, this isn't the one where I did the pictures. Okay, never mind. But yeah, I did the same thing last year during the school year. So yeah, Amelia, do you have anything else you'd like to see? Or Gabby, do you have anything else you'd like to see? Okay, yeah, cool.
I'm good. That was super helpful.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I just like to keep my expectations open, as I said a few times, so that kids, the more proficient kids can do more. And there's a like a ground expectation, because you're still gonna have kids who know your language very well, who don't want to do that much, and maybe that's okay that day, you know, like maybe they don't want to push themselves, and then you can have a different conversation with them later. But if you know they're capable of more, you can push them because you've got that, you know, higher level that you want them to get to. But maybe they're not there on that Tuesday or whatever, on that Wednesday, right? So anyway, please stay in touch if you have any, if you try anything, or if you have any feedback for me or anything that you want to see more of. Yeah, let me know. I'm here to support you guys. And please also, like, yeah, let us know if you try something, or if you have an idea, like maybe you improve upon something that we talked about, you know, maybe you improve upon something Becky did or whatever. I want to know about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, it was so good to see you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kristen.
Thank
for leading this.
you. Hopefully this will help you.
Mhm.
Yay. Gracias.
Bye.
Gracias.
Dankeschön. Yay, see you later.
Bye.
Bitte.
Okay, bye. Awesome.